This video is actually pushing across the board what is going on with this conversation. Astro Cyborg basically gets this clip from a podcast and said Mooch is really trying to convince himself that Xbox hasn't been dropping great games for a while now, and he attempts to downplay Indiana Jones, Doom the Dark Ages because Xbox bought them. Another commenter said, this is the Chaos Lounge, shout out to the Chaos Lounge, so he said, so let me get this straight, right. Mooch TV says Redfall and Starfield were not good and are Xbox, but Indiana Jones and Doom is not Xbox and is Bethesda. LMFAO, so who's going to tell him who made all 4 games? LOL. Interesting enough, another YouTube content creator also commented on this. This was, content creator Dirk Griggity. He said, Starfield wasn't great and Redfall wasn't great, but Indiana Jones and Doom was just Xbox buying Bethesda. Did someone tell him who made Starfield and Redfall? Now, having seen the reactions to this clip, I was curious. Believe you me, I have not heard this clip. So let's go ahead and listen to what this clip actually says. And shout out to Astro Cyborg and all these folk who actually commented this. But I have to hear it myself, guys. Because if there's a logical fallacy here, it would be nice for me to be able to go ahead and, get us to kind of see what the heck is going on. So let's hit that play button.
He says, where's the showcase? Where are the PlayStation IPs they plan to reboot? Why are they okay with Xbox games as padding? So, Trippy, we just kind of talked about that, and I do agree. I don't think they're necessarily using that as, I think that may buy them a little bit of time, but let's be honest. I know, we all get kind of caught up with the gaming media and the headlines and things like that. And yes, but if you look at the numbers, right, I don't have them in front of me. Crap usually has them in front of me, but like 1.5 million sold for like Sea of Thieves, right? 1.5 or 2 million copies sold of Forza Horizon 5. Maybe it's a little bit more than that. Those are not outstanding numbers. I mean, you see everybody be like, oh, look at that. Xbox is dominating the PlayStation.
Hold on. So if you say that, then when I talked about Astrobot not being outstanding numbers and PlayStation fanboys were kind of thinking they had a gotcha, can I go back and tell them that you said that 1.5 million units is not astounding sales? Because no one is actually fooling themselves to think, I'm not me anyways. I told y'all that Indiana Jones was going to have a hard time breaking into the mainstream in terms of gaming after what Lucasfilm had already done in the cinemas. Y'all said I was tripping, that Indiana Jones was popular enough. I was laughing. I was like, all right. But again, it still is selling and has sold well so far. I don't know if it's been profitable for them, but Game Pass has been profitable for them. Let's be honest here. The second side to the conversation too is, when you kind of think about Forza Horizon is coming in with a premise to bring you a 5-year-old title. So there really is no conversation here as to whether or not this particular title has been forthcoming in giving consumers and giving gamers what it is that they wanted at the end of the day. So however he wants to play it, there really is no getting away from this. Y'all know that, right? He has to actually deal with the reality that those games on PlayStation are bringing in more revenue for the developers. As he speaks on the podcast, copies are going out the window. And a game like Forza Horizon that has made its money, you might as well roll in those sales for Indiana Jones at this point. Because Xbox doesn't seem to really care who's bringing in the money. They're throwing the whole kitchen sink at the PlayStation platform, and they're counting their dollars and cashing checks. That's literally what's going on here, if you feel me. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at, more of what is being said here, because I think it's very interesting at the end of the day.
Yeah, Paul.
I mean, it is what it is. Those aren't really making that big of numbers. Donnell Brown, he says, I am sorry, Willie. You're coming off a little orange. Listen, Donnell, do not get upset with the great Willie Gamer, by the way. Babor Contre's here. He said it's subjective. Okay, I'll sit down. No pitchfork. I think that was when, I don't know if that was Willie or that was Porter Rock. Shout out to Babor. Trippy says, Xbox games have increased in quality recently. Question, what happens when they are on par with PlayStation, but more of them? What the hell can PlayStation do? This is the danger for PlayStation. So,
see, this is also another misnomer. These games that are on PlayStation so far right now have been games that have always been there. The one that's always been there that's funny is Forza and Gears of War. They've always been there. They've always had this quality. it seems like they gained quality coming over to PlayStation or something. Now, Indiana Jones has always been a game born from what Machine Games could do with their other titles that they showed up with Wolfenstein being able to make good first person games with very, very good visual quality, good storytelling, engaging games. So it's not a shock that this was a thing. But when everybody was grave dancing Redfall on the PlayStation side, they failed to realize that Bethesda was a very diverse conglomerate of studios with different talents, different range, and different specialties. So now they want to act like they just got basically a surprise haymaker of a game like Indiana Jones when they basically were making fun and saying, well, you see, they just bought Bethesda and it hasn't even done anything. Xbox is not managing Bethesda very well. They spoke too soon. So now they're saying, well, the quality is now being on par. Hold on. This is Bethesda that's always existed all this while and has always had games that resonated with their audiences. So maybe the hype is probably now telling a different story because no longer is the game relegated to Xbox, but you now have it on PlayStation, and PlayStation fans are resonating with the games because they want to buy the games. That's probably why these people now perceive it as quality games when inherently they've always been quality games.
Trippy, I got to say right there.
Well, to the Xbox players and the PC players anyways. I guess I have to go and say that because quality is subjective, I guess, right?
That I don't agree with you at all. I don't agree with you at all. First of all, Starfield wasn't great. What?
Did they increase in quality? Xbox?
I don't think so. So, like, when you look at it, Redfall wasn't great. Starfield wasn't great.
That Starfield wasn't great one is a lie. Let me tell you why. Yes, Bethesda games can be very, very, they can be unnerving in the way that they can separate a community if possible. However, Starfield ended up being one of the top selling and grossing games of 2023. If you follow that trend of Steam best games, you'll realize that these so-called games that are being called quality games in a sense have almost always gone to test out the waters on PC to a very, very accepting audience. And then when they make their way to PlayStation, everybody shuts up and plays those games. Because they would have thumbed their nose at a game like Sea of Thieves when it was not on their platform. Or even a game like Forza when it was not on their platform, a game that was also selling decent amount of copies as far back as when it launched in 2021. If you want to go see some of the best games on Steam as of 2021, right? You'll notice that Forza 4 was one of those games, and Forza 5 ranking in the top in gold, not just right under platinum in terms of revenue. So these games have always been accepted by gamers. It's just that the PlayStation, fanboy and pundit had been in a bubble that they created for themselves. So now that the bubble is burst, they don't know what to do with it. Do you hear him say, I disagree with you that their quality is increased? Not knowing that people had already judged the quality on a separate external Xbox platform from Xbox before coming to PlayStation. And so now PlayStation gamers are like, yo, because they're gamers there too.
Even Shattered Spaces, the DLC, got a very poor reception, even from the Xbox brass. It said, the Xbox positives online, they weren't really into it. And then when you sit there, you go, come on, Mooch, what about Indiana Jones? And what about Doom? Okay, you want to say Indiana Jones and Doom. Like, that was literally them going and buying Bethesda. So if you want to say Bethesda is great, I'll say Bethesda is great, right? Yes, Microsoft gets the tip of the cap, but you can't sit there and say it's like some, like if it was, the Coalition, or if it was Turn 10. Like Turn 10 had a really good update that just came out with Forza Motorsport. But Forza Motorsport, when it came out a year or two ago, really, really poor. One of the worst Forzas to come out. So Trippy, you got to calm down.
Really? One of the worst Forzas to come out? This is why a lot of PlayStation fans are misinformed. I am so glad that we're having this conversation. In fact, the earlier statements from the Gaming Lounge and Dirk Griggity, I think didn't even show the force of how faulty that claim he made is. Because these games that he just pointed out, whichever one he talked about, whether it be Forza 4 or Forza 5, these games sold well. are rated very positive on Steam. By the way, I'm talking an 88% in terms of user acceptance and most recent user acceptance. Could it be that at first when it launched there were issues? I don't know. But I don't think I see it because this game is just landing on PlayStation. So what could be the controversy at the time? Perhaps I don't know. However, for him to make this claim, it shows that he's downplayed Xbox so much, he's put himself in a logical twist and bound himself in a way that he's probably not going to be able to get out of unless he admits the one thing that he's basically, comfortably and conveniently been able to deny. When the games were not on, PlayStation, it was easy to dismiss them. Now, you got to have a conversation with people who are playing those games on PlayStation to try to convince them that their eyes are deceiving them, that this game is not quality. You're going to have a hard time doing that. A lot of these people are buying these games. A lot of these people are gamers. They're talking about them, especially in light of the fact that PlayStation doesn't have that cadence. You can already see, right, how this stuff is changing at the end of the day. Wow. I told y'all, these last 2 years, everyone's going to be paying attention to what the pundits are saying much carefully, armed with data, armed with the facts, armed with history too, which is crazy that they said that. And all I had to do was go and say, really? If the game was poor, what is it doing on the gold ranking on Steam? Or maybe, it shows a poor taste in games, but it's not what we're seeing. These games look like they did get a lot of good acceptance. In fact, people were telling me, VG, we know you don't play Forza, but Forza 4 is about to be delisted. Buy it. I said, come on. I said, all right, you guys watch my videos. For your sake, I will buy Forza 4. I bought it on the Xbox store because I was like, I'm going to get 2 versions of it out of it. If I'm going to buy it, I might as well get 2 versions of the darn game. So that's how much I heard good things about the game. Right? That my audience said, hey, man, you got to do us one solid. I said, all right, here's y'all's 2024 gift to the VG community of Xbox users. As a PC guy, I know most of you watch my videos and most of you support my channel. So I'm going to give you guys one. And I paid for the game before it got delisted. So how he came to that conclusion is just so strange to me. I digress. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Peace out.